Lions 21, Giants 16. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pinnock. And we got to see our New York Giants in game action for the first time since the Eagles' playoff loss. Large majority of the starters did not play, so we're going to be talking a lot about depth, but some starters did play. John Michael Schmitz and the interior guys, we need to talk about those. The corners, Jason Pinnock obviously played really well. So luckily the guys that do start, we kind of come away with some good impressions from. But in all of just talking about this as a game, special teams screwed the Giants, and Wyatt Davis and Corey Cunningham specifically ruined this game for the Giants.
I hate starting off a pod like this. I'm really excited that Giants football is back. We are back, baby. But man, this was a boring ass game.
I hate to say that because it's first preseason game back. I'm usually pumped, but this was one of the more, even if they had like Tommy DeVito game winner, that would have been fun, but just it's kind of a boring game to talk about, which is not great for keeping you guys in, but you know what? Stay in with us.
And also, like, when one of our main points is special teams, and we're talking about special teams as a reason why the result of the game happened, I feel like 9 times out of 10 it's because, well, the special teams sucked. And if you know us, we hate talking about special teams.
Yeah, I want to do special teams because we want to talk about Daboll looking at McGahee in the break between offense and defense. I want to start with offense.
Let's start with offense.
And Tyrod Taylor only threw the ball 4 times, had a ball back, some design stuff that just didn't work out. Nothing to take away from that. Tommy DeVito went 11 for 17, 100 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, had a couple of scrambles. And Tommy DeVito had a very good chance of coming out here and losing an NFL job. That happens in the preseason. You get these, especially an undrafted free agent quarterback, there's nothing tied to you, there's nothing invested into you, where you can come in here and you can be horrible, like Clayton Thorson was a couple of years ago, and then you get cut the next day and the team is looking for a different third-string quarterback because, hey, we need someone who's, if in an emergent situation, we can put in as the backup, or even being the backup if Daniel Jones was to go down. You kind of need someone you can trust to run an offense. And I think DeVito did that. He didn't have any bad decisions. He escaped the pocket when he could with the pressure. Good accuracy and touch showed up. He had the touchdown that Tommy Sweeney.
That was sweet.
Yeah, that was a nice throw. So I think Tommy DeVito came in here, and maybe it goes south in the next 2 preseason games, but showed, okay, you can be confident with this guy as a practice squad QB3 guy.
And in a way, Bobby, he had some plays with good protection, but the majority of the plays, both tackles, Corey Cunningham and Wyatt Davis, absolutely just tanked the offense in the second half. We talked a lot about this on our long road trip to and from Detroit about quarterback play and evaluating quarterback play, and kind of you really get to see a quarterback's guts when things aren't perfect and when things are kind of falling apart around you. And even more than the touchdown throw that Tommy DeVito had to Tommy Sweeney, shout out Don Bosco Prep. Both of those guys went to Don Bosco.
Tommy to Tommy, that's a great New Jersey.
Tommy to Tommy.
Preseason memory.
Tommy to Tommy, Tommy DeVito Italian, Tommy DeVito, Tommy Sweeney, both Don Bosco Prep. Awesome. But even more impressive than that was the fact that there were some plays where he felt the pressure and he tried to extend plays. There was even one play where he had a spin move, but it didn't count because I think of a Wyatt, somebody had a holding on maybe it was Jack Anderson. Jack Anderson had a penalty up there. So Tommy DeVito did look like he can operate an offense, and we were saying the same thing about him, in our UDFA review of him.
Yeah, you put him in well-structured offense, and he has good accuracy, good touch on the ball. And like you said, we got to see him with a horrible offensive line play, and we're talking, he didn't come out here and light it up or nothing, but like you said, he can operate an offense.
Yeah. And I thought he bounced back.
At least in the preseason. Obviously, it's different with live bullets and different types of coverages and stuff looking at you, but we've seen, again, I go back to Clayton Thorson 2 years ago. We saw a guy who was this guy just doesn't belong in the NFL field. Cut him. Let's bring in Brian Lewerke, to see what he can do. So,
and I thought he bounced back. I think that first sack that he took early on in his appearance, and that's when the starting, the quote-unquote starting offensive line was still in there. I thought that there was a sack that he took where it's dude, you got to, extend the play, move your legs a little bit, move the pocket. But then the rest of the sacks that he took, the offensive line was just flat out horrible, and there were plays that he did extend, and he had good pocket awareness and stuff like that. So Shout out Tommy DeVito. One play of 20+ yards too. So that'll be fun for the explosive play report.
The starters didn't play today. We didn't really talk about that at the top. The starters didn't play today, which I am fine with because they went so hard in those joint practices. If they would have played a series too, I would have been cool with that. Probably would have just preferred that just to get one series to talk about them selfishly. Are you still like last year though, where it's second game? Do you want those guys playing close to a half or a quarter and 5 minutes?
You need to,
I'm a big believer that your quarterback needs to see live bullets before the season starts.
I want them playing
play in the
something.
Jets game. Yeah.
Something. I think Waller it depends, and some other guys it depends, but I want Jones getting out there. Put Andrew Thomas out there when Daniel Jones is out there.
Yeah, I just believe even if Evan Neal comes back from the concussion, I think it's just a lot different playing quarterback when you can't be touched versus when you can. And
tell Daniel Jones not to run.
I do think he should get some live bullets out there, but I figure we say that before we get into it. Yeah, Wyatt Davis and Corey Cunningham were frustrated. I mean, they were just, their feet were stuck in mud. Like they looked like they had cement blocks on their feet and were like basically ruined the second half for the Giants. Where the only touchdown that was in the first half, where the touchdown was to Tommy Sweeney. But even that was with the first team offensive line. But I do want to talk about the offensive line. Obviously, Thomas and Neal didn't play, but John Michael Smith, Ben Bredesen, and Josh Suzuki did. I went back and watched. That's probably the thing I watched the closest in my rewatch of this game. John Michael Smith was good, like especially in pass protection. His hand usage was great. Like he was really, really good in pass protection. He got hands, like it was just awesome, clean technique. Obviously, it's against the Lions backup, so you don't overreact and say he's a superstar. But in pass protection, I was really, really impressed where you can see guys come in and be embarrassed early on. Like even Josh Suzuki. Like Josh Suzuki had two really bad plays, one with a sack and one with a quick initial loss, and his hand punch was consistently high. We talk about technique with the hands. His hand punch was consistently high. Ben Bredesen, I thought, was good outside of one play, but he did have that one play where it was a sack. He got disengaged after a couple seconds. It wasn't like the worst block ever, but it wasn't a good block either. So at least John Michael Smith didn't have those in pass protection. He had a really great stunt pickup. And the one negative is I'll say there was run plays where he just didn't get to his angles well, which is like you got to get used to that NFL speed, the NFL run defenses where timing is everything in the run game, especially when you're moving to the second level. There was just times where he didn't get to his angles in the run game.
But, overall, you take this debut for John Michael Schmitz in some sort of NFL action.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously he's an older rookie at 24 years old, but a lot of times the preseason isn't about like this guy did good, this guy did good. It's
you just don't want to see bad.
This guy didn't do bad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I would say like JMS looked balanced, under control, and comfortable. Like if I had to put kind of like in three different phrases for his debut, balanced, under control, and comfortable. Are you? You're sneezing back there.
Go ahead.
Balanced, under control, and comfortable. Azudu.
Jeff is looking at me like, what the fuck was that? I don't sneeze on camera.
I had no idea what you were doing. I was trying to kind of peek around the corner.
Bobby has sworn to never sneeze on camera.
The last episode of Talking
Giants ever. I want to talk about Azudu, though. I'm glad that you watched more and you said that the two bad plays were bad, but other than that, he was...
Well, his hand punch was consistently high.
Okay.
Like, there was good reps where...
That's my main thing.
I talked about him with... that's why he was on my guys, the watch list, is not necessarily results. How is his hand usage? And his hand usage was consistently high. Now, there was times where he was able to get in front of guys and have those hands slide down in the good positioning, but it was a consistently coming up here on top of the shoulder.
One of his two bad plays... I saw a punch and hands were grabbing towards by the ear hole. And that's how much he missed. And that's how much he missed so high. I'm like, what are we doing there, man? We got to get those hands down.
Yeah. So that is worrisome, right? Because we're going to go against Lions backups, sometimes even third stringers. And it's just that's good.
Yeah.
And good NFL defensive linemen, especially in the NFC East, are going to take advantage of that, and we need to see improvement out of Josh Suzuki, by the end of this season.
Yeah. I would say
you can't if he's struggling at the end of the year, it's hard to bank on him, and even though guards, sometimes year 3 is when guards it comes together. It's just I want to, and it's not as bad as the hand usage was at the beginning of early last season, right? So there has been improvement, but I just want to see that hand strike be more consistent. Where it was, to me, it was consistently high, and it led to a couple of really bad reps.
I would say, if there's one overreaction that I have from this game, which I really don't, like a lot of what happened.
No, I don't have any strong reaction.
A lot of what happened in this game very much matches what I've seen in camp with some like player evals, and then even what happened this week in joint practices, with like Javarius Owens, Alex Cook, Timon Fox, a lot of the guys that like I observed this week, especially on the defensive side of the ball, since I watched the defensive side of the ball so much this week, a lot of it kind of matches like what happened in the joint practices. But if I have one giant overreaction from this game, it's that in my brain, I'm kind of penciling in Mark Lewinsky at right guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, and Ben Bredesen at left guard. That's what I'm kind of like watching how bad some of the bad Azudu stuff is. That's my like overreaction to this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me what my guess of the starters would be, that would be it.
Yep.
Mark Lewinsky didn't play today, which I think speaks to he will be the starting right guard. So to me, it's a Ben Bredesen versus Josh Azudu battle, and they want Azudu to win.
Yeah,
but I do think Ben Bredesen ends up winning that. I think they do a rotation, but I think Ben Bredesen starts the rotation at least.
Any thoughts on Parrott?
Not really. I mean, he had some good stuff and he had some bad plays, but that's who Matt Parrott is. Like, it's year 4. I'm not evaluating Matt Parrott anymore.
Okay.
No, I do think he's the best option for swing tackle. Obviously, Corey Cunningham. Corey Cunningham is worse than what he was in past years. Like that. Like, I've watched Corey Cunningham play. It hasn't been as bad as it was then. Now, Tyree Phillips didn't play. I don't know if that's injury or what. But Matt Parrott to me is the swing tackle, and it's not the best situation in the world, but not many teams have a good swing tackle spot.
Right.
But I'm not evaluating Matt Parrott. I know what Matt Parrott is. Like, he's got the athleticism, so you see good stuff. But too often, he opens up for the corner to get around him. His feet don't match his athleticism, and guys get around the corner.
Yeah.
That's what Matt Parrott is. There's no more evaluation for Matt Parrott for me.
Yeah, there was a play. You just said Corey Cunningham.
He's also playing left tackle, which he's been at right tackle the last week since the Evan Neal injury. So I'm just not evaluating Matt Parrott.
But you mentioned Corey Cunningham. There was a sack that Corey Cunningham allowed where he just didn't get out of his stance for the first second and a half of the play.
Him and Wyatt Davis, I mean, they tanked the offense in the second half. They did not. Anytime the offense would do something good, the next play would be Wyatt Davis and Corey Cunningham screwing it up.
I think Doug Analytics tweeted out the win probability graph. I think the Giants at one point had a 13-3 lead, and I think it was around halftime. So I think around like the early parts of the second half when it was still 13-3, they had like an 80% win probability, and then Wyatt Davis and Corey Cunningham check into the game, and then it quickly turned the other way.
Yeah. I mean, Tommy DeVito was sacked 5 times.
Not great, Johnny.
Five times.
Not good, not happy.
I don't want to spend too much time on the receivers, but all of the...
I have stats.
Go for it.
Giants slot wide receivers made the biggest impact. They had 9 Giant slot wide receivers had 9 catches. That's half the completions, and 86 of the 162 yards as well. I'm counting Cole Beasley as a slot receiver. I'm counting Jameson Crowder, Khalil Pimpleton, and Jaden Mickens as the slot wide receivers.
I don't know why I put Tommy DeVito down for 100 yards.
He had 155 yards.
Yeah, 155.
Yeah, so the Giants...
I said that earlier.
So basically, the Giants slot wide receivers, 4 different players, like I said, Beasley, Crowder, Pimpleton, and Mickens. And Mickens only had 1 catch for 6 yards. They accounted for half of the passing offense tonight.
Beasley had 4 catches for 33 yards, and one of those was a design play where he got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. He had 2 third and long catches, where one was a slant where he cooked the guy, and the other one was an option route where he catches the ball and then breaks the guy. And this is early in the game against the Lions' second teamers. Cole Beasley is making the team, and you saw why. Like, not going to go lose my mind. He's not athletic anymore. But Cole Beasley is going to make this team, and I'm telling you, he's going to get third down snaps on the team because of stuff like that. Like Cole Beasley can get 12 snaps a game. 7 or 8 of those are going to be on third and 5 to 7 yards that's where he thrives, and they didn't bring him in here for any reason. Also, Jamison Crowder had 2 catches for 32 yards. One was a third down. So I don't have much takeaways from the receivers besides Bryce Ford Wheaton hype. Dead. officially dead. I mean, he had the offensive pass interference.
Tommy DeVito missed him on like the one big mistake that Tommy DeVito had was missing Bryce Ford Wheaton in the middle of the field. I think that was on the final drive of the game. Maybe?
Yeah, it was. And then they had the pass up the sideline where it's just he didn't make the play, and then
there was a drop.
The third down drop where you're 6'4", you're this big bodied guy.
Can't let that ball come into your body. You got to go.
You
get
go
it.
out. If that's Isaiah Hodgins, not talking about the route or anything, just Isaiah Hodgins at the catch point. That's a first down. With Bryce Ford Wheaton, he lets it get into his chest.
Can't do that.
Guy's able to break it up, and he doesn't catch the ball. So, like, Bryce Ford Wheaton, hype is done. He is – he's going to be on the practice squad. I'd be surprised if he's not. But there's not like this Bryce Ford Wheaton, hype train going to get rolling from preseason.
I still think he can have, go out there next week against the Panthers and – have a better game and have some good moments in the preseason. I still think that's a possibility, but
I did notice them lining him up near the tackles, kind of like a split out tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's ever going to be anything in the NFL. I do believe he's an undrafted free agent for a wide receiver. I don't think his 40 time is real. He does have a drop problem. He catches with his chest. He's not a good route runner. It is to move to tight end.
Okay.
I don't feel like having the long, but I talked about it in, when we were talking about mini camp and stuff. That is the path for him to play in the NFL, is to become a tight end.
Giants, coaching staff in this Giants offense is also putting tight ends flanked out wide at a tremendous rate so far this year, the Darren Waller effect. So, we'll see. We'll see how they continue to use him. But, do I want to say anything about Cole Beasley? Dude's going to get separation. And what he did today is just that's what we knew Cole Beasley was going to come in and be, and that's what I think he is going to be for this Giants offense. He's going to be a chain mover. He's going to come in on third down. He's going to run an option route. He's going to run an out route. He's going to run deep curls, and he's going to be effective.
Yeah.
David Sills jumped 10 feet in the air, caught a ball out of bounds, and I believe he had a 20-plus yard receiving play.
It wasn't 20. It was 12 yards.
No, David Sills, 22.
Oh, wow.
You're super wrong with your numbers. Colin Johnson hurt.
Yeah. Anything on the running backs? Eric Gray looked a little lost at the start, and then he started breaking. There was 3 plays where he broke tackles. One where he just put his a catch where he just put it through a dude's chest. Another one where it looked like he was tackled and he broke tackles. Corbin looked good with speed. James Robinson was slow. Corbin had the 33-yard run. Ended the day with 3 carries for 40 yards. Gary Brentwell didn't play. Saquon didn't play. Breida got 1 carry. So
yeah.
There's running backs usually pop off in the preseason and have good preseasons. Last year, all the running backs did well, and we just didn't get that today.
Well, they gave James Robinson most of the run when they had most of the competent offensive linemen in there, and James Robinson's just slow. I thought there were multiple opportunities for James Robinson to maybe take a different route or take a different hole or cut back here and there, and he's just slow, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah.
I will say about Eric Gray, I was disappointed that we didn't see a little more quickness out of him. I know he's not fast, but he looked more like a power back out there rather than the efficient cutback guy that we saw at Oklahoma. So we did see the broken tackles and in the open field, and he caught some balls and he had yards after contact. But I was expecting a little bit more shiftiness and maybe a little bit more quickness out of Eric Gray. It's his first NFL action, I know, and this is not a judgment on his career, but I just thought that it would be a little different seeing him finally it's like seeing him finally in an actual game. What do you think about that?
He just wasn't. He didn't get any space through the hole to be that one cutback.
And that's fair.
He was kind of just out on the edges, right? Where again, he ran through a dude's chest. He broke a tackle where he kind of spun out of it. You just didn't see him get that space up through the hole to really be that one cut, make a linebacker miss. Where a lot of stuff was against DBs, breaking tackles versus DBs too. So not linebackers, but there was really no big takeaways with the backs. Nice job by Corbin using his speed. We even saw that in the joint practice the other day where he got out on the edges and had a big play. The defense is the talking point. I know we started with offense like we usually do. Before we get into the defense, the special teams. almost gave up a 50-yard onside kick, and that's another Eric Gray thing. They had a pre-snap penalty on a punt, and then on that punt, give up a touchdown. And you got the clip. I mean,
oh my God,
Daboll glaring at Thomas McGahee.
It was the most apparent stink eye I've ever seen.
McGahee's walking past him, and Daboll's staring at him. And then as McGahee's walking past, he turns his head with him and just stares him down. And McGahee doesn't say anything. So I don't want to read into that, but obviously Brian Daboll was pissed. What I thought was funny is we make the well-respected jokes because he's very nice to the beat reporters, is what my conclusion has been. And literally, Pat Leonard tweeted out, like, about the Brian Daboll glare, like, that's on the head coach, too. Like,
tackling is on the head coach, too.
When else does that happen?
Come on. That was so lame.
So, yeah, the special teams had a bad night.
Even Eric Gray had a punt return where he looked uncomfortable fielding the punt, and he, like, fell down right at contact, where it's like he didn't call for fair catch. So if he catches that ball, he could have gotten his head decapitated.
And we've been at them. Like, I don't see
he
much
looks comfortable
preseason practices or special teams practices. Let's talk about the defense, because the defense actually had some like really good moments.
Special teams did lose us the game, by the way, with the punt return. Like, that touchdown is off the board, and then the Giants win this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Defense.
Jason Pinnock.
Oh, we're starting them back there.
He had 5 plays. 1 interception, which was really good coverage by Trey Hawkins and Deontay Banks on that off of a Tamon Fox hit. He had a tackle for a loss, and then on 4th and 1, they throw the ball, and I thought that was a better play than the interception, where he's got man coverage on Sam Laporta, keeps close, gets inside and breaks the pass. He had an interception, a tackle for loss, and a pass breakup on 5 plays, and had really good coverage. And man coverage versus Sam Laporta, who everybody loves. Obviously, he's a rookie tight end. I think he's going to have some struggles. But Pinnock, if it wasn't clear, has won that starting job. And you see the athleticism. You see the ability to, despite being a college corner, to come up and be physical in the run game and make hits. Like, Jason Pinnock is going to be the starting safety for the New York Giants.
Jason Pinnock be like, you've been starting me for the last week and a half for number 2 safety. You literally haven't even rotated me in or out. Why am I playing today?
Yeah, and I mean they took him out after that second drive.
All right, okay, you're good.
Yeah, like we've seen enough out of you. We can put Dane Belton and Bobby McCain in the game.
I want to apologize to Jason Pinnock because I was I am a huge Pinnock stan. Nothing changed, but hearing the Dane Belton injury thing last year put me a little bit more on the Belton hype train, being like, okay, well, when Belton was out there, he looked a little good. Had an interception, almost had an interception against the Seahawks last year where he baits Geno Smith into like a little bit of a throw on 3rd down. So it's like, all right, well, I picked Dane Belton to lead the team in interceptions this year, which he may, because Dane Belton did have an interception.
Yeah, the team that didn't get any interceptions through all camp got 2 interceptions in this game.
How many interceptions did they have last year?
8.
8? They got 25% of the way there today in one preseason game. I didn't like that. But imagine the Giants have 8 interceptions through 3 games, and they match what they did in like 17 games last year. But anyway, with Pinnock, that was a guy that I loved last year. I loved that we picked him up after the initial cutdown day. I loved his athleticism. I loved the way that he tackles. I loved the way that he plays. And even last year, I like his impact that he made on the team for the value that that we have him at right now. I really do like him, and I apologize to Jason Pinnock that I strayed away from saying that you should be the clear-cut starting safety. I apologize.
And that's what he is now.
That's what he is.
I want to talk about the corners before we talk about other safeties, the Deontay Banks and Trey Hawkins.
We should.
Banks looked comfortable out there. Now, the deep shot to Jameson Williams, if he doesn't alligator arm that's like a 50-yard catch.
But I will say, the saving grace of that play is like Jameson Williams, it was a drop. He dropped the ball. But you can see Banks, and I don't. Somebody pointed this out to me. It may have been Research Rick, and may have been somebody else who's smart, who I follow. Deontay Banks does reach his arm in there and kind of disrupts the overall. It's not like Deontay Banks just lets Jameson Williams drop that ball. Banks is kind of working his hand in there without getting flagged and not being too grabby. So it wasn't an awesome play.
He made a good play on it, but that did come after he dropped it.
Okay,
like
yeah.
it's like he drops it and then Banks kind of gets in there. So maybe if like he does an alligator arm that and the ball actually, because the ball doesn't hit him like right in the palms, it hits him at the fingertips because the alligator arms it. So if he does an alligator, maybe Banks does break that up. But nonetheless, he did get beat deep by Jamison Williams. But besides that, I thought he looked pretty damn good.
He didn't allow a catch.
Like the Dane Belton interception. That was really good by Deonte Banks. He actually kind of lost the release and man coverage, fought for inside leverage. And even if that's a good throw, that's probably a Deonte Banks pass breakup on Jamison Williams. Like, he looked good out there. Wasn't targeted outside that. They had the offensive pass interference on him.
He had that guy covered and then the push off.
Yeah, where I was like, oh, no, like, they didn't complete it, but it was like if a good quarterback throws it. But it was a clear push off, so he was in good position there and forced them to. The only way for him to get open is a push off like that. So I thought Deonte Banks looked really comfortable out there, which is what I want to see out of Banks. Not necessarily like great results. I just want to see him play with comfort.
Yeah, and I think the trend of the last week, and especially maybe even like the joint practices versus the Lions, is Deonte Banks not looking perfect, but also at the same time, he hasn't allowed barely any catches over the last week and a half of Giants camp. Now, Trey Hawkins, on the other hand, continues to impress, but Trey Hawkins has started to allow some more catches. You know, he got the Amon-Ra St. Brown treatment this past week against Detroit Lions in some of those practices. Trey Hawkins did allow some catches and did have some bad moments during the Lions game. So, like, we're seeing, like, Trey Hawkins, like, I think, like, his better plays are just so dominant. And then Deonte Banks, like, isn't perfect, but is still being effective over the last course of the week. And that matches,
not even being targeted.
That matches what we've seen in Giants camp through the last week.
Well, I went and Trey Hawkins and Deonte Banks were the things I watched the most closely in the rewatch outside of the interior offensive line. Trey Hawkins gave up 3 catches from off coverage. So, like, again, they were playing 10 yards off. They throw offense. Those are plays that offenses take when you got off coverage and you're not game planning for a preseason game. So those I don't mind. His really bad play was a whip route that Tayshaun Bauer ended up knocking down at the line of scrimmage at the red zone. I mean, that would have been a Trey Hawkins touchdown allowed, where he overcommits on the slant part of the whip route and they pops back out. And I mean, he smoked him. Like, it was if that happened to Deonte Banks and the passes, like, you have Giants fans panicking, but the ball gets knocked down. He's a 6th-round pick, so there's a different standard. Yep. So that was there, and then the play, I went back and watched this too, because there was that hole shot on that throw up the sideline on 3rd down. It's like, Trey Hawkins. It was cover 2, so it was a good read. It was a good job by the quarterback firing that in there for a hole shot. Like, Banks was doing Hawkins was doing his job.
Was Bobby McCain supposed to get over there?
McCain was getting over. I mean, it was just a really good throw by their quarterback, Nate Sudfeld. Fuck you, Nate Sudfeld. It was a really good throw by Sudfeld.
Whoa.
Where he just kind of, like, you know, gave the look to make sure Hawkins, you know, stayed in that flat, you know, that range by the sticks, and then fired it in there. So that's a great safety. Like, other than McCain can maybe get over there and make a play, but that was just a good quarterback play. And then Flott was the one, man, that he left with an injury, abdomen injury. He got beat on an out route where they missed the throw, and then they went for it on 4th down, and he gets smoked on a corner route, and the quarterback just throws a horrible pass.
Yeah, underthrows him.
Which is what we have seen from Cordell Flott in camp. It's the out routes that he really, really struggles. So he plays with this inside leverage, and those guys get on the outside on those out routes or corners, and we saw him get targeted twice and get beat twice. But simply just bad throws by the quarterback didn't make him pay for that. And now he's dealing with an injury. Like, and Darnay started over him. Like, it's at a point now where Flott's gonna have to do a lot to get that nickel corner job, because it looks like it's Darnay Holmes' job to lose. I mean, he's practiced. There's been one practice in those last 7 practices where Darnay wasn't, and it was that Monday practice where it was essentially a walkthrough. That's the only single time that they have. Anytime they've done 11 on 11 in the last 7 practices, Darnay Holmes has been the starter. Where Flott, and it's, you can't really hate on it because Flott is not winning that job.
No, he's not. I'm gonna keep banging this drum, and I'm going to try and manifest it as best as I can. I really hope the starting slot corner for the New York Giants is not on the roster right now. And we didn't see Nick McLeod tonight, which, that reminded me of that, as he's like being transitioned to safety. And are you a slot corner? Are you a safety? Are you whatever? Are you a Swiss Army knife? So I'm hoping and manifesting that this pro personnel department, Dennis Hickey, whoever, can go out there and see if we can find like a Nick McLeod last year, like a Jason Pinnock, like a Fabian Moreau, except we need that for the slot corner.
The safety's going back there.
Yeah.
I almost had my Javarius Owens moment where he jumps a play and almost gets an interception. I mean, gets his hands on it and just like gets through there, almost has that interception, almost had that play. But then the next play, they like motion in their tight end, and he puts him on his ass, like as quote unquote setting the edge. The run went the opposite way, but Owens still put him on his ass. And then also there was a 3rd and goal at the 7 where the Lions were going to run the ball, try and get it to like 4th and goal at the 3, and he gets in there and gets a run stop on 3rd and goal at the 7, and then they kick a field goal instead, so it stops them from going on 4th down. Even though we maybe win the game if that doesn't happen. I was excited about him. Like, I thought he looked good. And then Alex Cook, the UDFA, who we talked about him at the last camp practice, and you talked about him specifically. Yeah. He was going in there firing off in the run game.
He had the most tackles, 7 tackles, led the team.
Yeah, especially in the red zone. So I thought that was pretty impressive out of him. Like you said, 7 tackles, 3 solo. Like, again, Cook's not making his way onto the roster, but he can make his way onto the practice squad, where I don't like. Does anyone think he's making the practice squad at the start of camp? I don't know, but
I certainly didn't think so.
But now he's like, okay, he's your practice squad safety who you can play up in the box.
Yeah, and not the best athlete, but I just feel like he's a good football player.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I was dying inside because Owens didn't put an interception.
That would have been.
But he was going out there and making plays, and I was excited to at least see that.
Yeah. At one point, somebody, I think I could be wrong. I think it's like a comb that some guys put in their hair, and it's like
it's like a pick.
There you go, pick, and it like waves around. I think somebody at one point took it out of his helmet, and I thought he was about to start a fight with somebody on the Lions sideline, but he just was like, "Give me that." And he just took it back from somebody, and I thought that was a funny moment. No, but I'm really excited for Javarius Owens. I need like a highlight, like big hit, like something is going to come in the next 2 games for Javarius Owens. Whether it is a big hit, he lays somebody out, a sack, an interception, something that Javarius Owens is going to be like a holy shit, did you see that moment?
I mean, he just plays with like his ass on fire.
I love it. Yeah,
like even like the almost interception was a very instinctual play where he goes in there. The run stop was really good. Lighting up. Like, I'm going to post. I posted the clip already of him just putting a tight end on his ass.
I think they should keep him over Bobby McCain.
Well, I think they're going to keep both of them. And maybe Bobby McCain moves back to the freaking nickel, the way the nickel corner position is.
Oh, God, please, no.
Edge, which I'm surprised we're talking about this late. Habakkuk Baldonado had 2 sacks. One got taken off the board for roughing passer that wasn't roughing passer, and a QB hit. Timon Fox had 2 QB hits and made plays in the run game. 1 QB hit led to the Jason Pinnock
basically forced a turnover. Timon Fox did.
O'Shane Zimenez did have a quarterback hit, but outside of that, he didn't do anything as a pass rusher, and he gets consistently moved in the run game. Like, I think this position battle should be open. Jihad Ward and the 2 starters didn't play, and O'Shane Zimenez going up against backups did nothing. No, he didn't have the quarterback hit, so he did something. But it just consistently gets moved off in the run game. And as this team is trying to stop the run this year, having O'Shane Zimenez on the field is going to be a liability for that. And he doesn't give you anything as a pass rusher. Like, he doesn't really rush with the plan. Like, even like, it was a second effort on the quarterback hit that he had, where I don't love having Fox out there, but Baldonado looked good in the run game, and Baldonado did what he does well as a pass rusher. Now, this is against third stringers, so you don't want to overreact to it, but like, he used his power. Like, he got to that inside shoulder and pushed the pocket and got 2 sacks. One was on the quarterback running up the pocket, but he also had he got a matchup with the tight end, jacked him up and turned it into a quarterback hit. So I hope that this is a waiver position that we're claiming somebody, even though we're lower on the waivers than we have been in previous years. But yeah, it's just every time you look at O'Shane Ximines in the run game, he's getting moved off the spot.
It's bad.
Consistently. Like by tight ends too, not just offensive tackles, by tight ends. Like I talk about Baldonado having a good play on a tight end. Well, when O'Shane Ximines is on a tight end, they're moving him.
I just don't know what to say at this point, man. Like with O'Shane, what is the allure? What is the allure for this coaching staff?
Familiarity.
And he had the nice QB hit, and you said this last year. I honestly think it's the fact that somebody on the coaching staff or front office, whatever, maybe had a good eval on O'Shane Ximines from Old Dominion, and that's what they're sticking with. And yeah, he had the nice QB hit, but I inevitably and ultimately feel like his pass rush ability absolutely does not make up. And I put pass rush ability in quotes,
because his college film was really good. Like, it's better than any of these other guys have out there.
But it does not make up for the embarrassment he is in the run game.
Well, and they didn't want to bring him back. Like, they wanted to draft someone there, and then they didn't. And
okay, but you have Timon, and this isn't saying
okay, but Timon
something.
Fox had a worse pass rush win rate than him last year. But I would rather have Fox. I think he plays better.
Are you looking for your edge 4 to give you pass rushing upside? Like, but my point. The point is that O'Shane Ximines
to be able to set the edge in the get run game.
O'Shane Ximines and his pass rush ability, and I put that in quotes, does not make up for the embarrassment that he is in the run, and that's the main point.
Yeah, and
that's the main point.
I think Fox should be just as getting just as many reps with the second team as O'Shane Ximines.
And the QB hit that he had on the Pinnock interception matched a very, very similar rep he had during the Lions joint practice this week. I know you were watching the offense, but it felt like it was in deja vu. I know nobody else basically saw that, but it very much matched exactly what he did this past week. 2 QB hits on the day, like you said. He had a run stop here and there too.
Yeah.
And this is new for Timon Fox. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that he can get QB hits like this during the regular season and have these game impact plays, but he can stop the run. He can set an edge, and he can give you a flash here and there as a pass rusher, and I just cannot say the same for O'Shane Ximines, and I know for a fact O'Shane Ximines will still be ahead of Timon Fox. And you could say that we're being dramatic or accuse us of we're not trusting the coaches, but this stuff does matter. Like, who your edge 4 is does matter, because you saw it early on in the season last year. How quick Aziz and guys like Aziz and Kayvon can go down.
Oh yeah, it absolutely matters. We can finish off with linebacker stuff.
Habakkuk Baldonado, Justin Tuck, bow celebration.
And they freaking took it back. That was such a bullshit call.
Hey, but then he did it again. Whoa. Jordan Riley.
I saw you had one run stop. It was nice.
Nice one run stop. I thought I actually, and in my rewatch of the game, I want to seek out Jordan Riley, as I thought he started out the game a little weak, but then finished off with a nice run stop in particular. Really big dude, did a great job using the lineman against him, sheds the block, swims around the center, swims around and across the lineman, wraps up, drives him to the ground after Bowser got there initially untouched. So I'm all in on Jordan Riley for interior defensive lineman 5. I think they will carry 5.
Yeah, I think he will end up being the 5th guy.
Once DJ Davidson works his way back from injury, I think Jordan Riley just flashes more. There's no other interior defensive lineman I think that was out there tonight that has a shot at making the team. But Jordan Riley being that 6th round pick, where was he?
7th round pick.
He didn't make it to the 7th round. So what a exciting day 3 for the Giants this year. Even 2020, we liked some of those guys like Carter Coughlin, Cam Brown. We were take Crowder. We were really excited about in 2020. But I mean, even that day 3 in 2020 just had a lot of picks. But we are really excited for these day 3 picks for the Giants this past year.
Yeah.
Interior linebacker.
I thought Mike McFadden was the only one out there that looked good. I mean, it was Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. Carter Coughlin made some plays, but he missed some plays too. Yeah. It's kind of like what Carter Coughlin is as a linebacker.
He's the epitome of a fun preseason player.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really need to evaluate Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. They're special teams players, and I do want both those guys on the team. Like, you actually see those guys make plays on special teams. Deontay Johnson didn't look out of place. Troy Brown did a little bit. But Micah McFadden, like I saw him make a few run stops. I thought he diagnosed stuff well. He was patient. He had a quarterback hit. And he's also the starter there too. Darren Beavers didn't play, which I don't know if it's something like new that he's banged up with, or simply just bringing him back slowly. Because he's mentioned that in press conferences, and so I don't know exactly why he didn't play, but he didn't play, and he's coming off that injury. So I mean that is Micah McFadden's job. Now linebackers can look better in preseason because it's a lot simpler for them. It's a lot simpler reads. So I'm not going to go look, Micah McFadden's good now, but he did have a good game.
Yeah, the one particular play where he had a run stop, takes on a block really well. I don't know if it might have been a fullback or a tight end.
He didn't even make the tackle on this play, but there's a fullback and he goes in.
I thought he did make the tackle.
And he levers in on it and just puts that shoulder in and pushes him back, and then funnels the tackle to somebody else for a run stop.
Yeah.
He also did have a run stop. There was another play where he's being patient versus zone. The running back cuts back. He's there. He fills the gap and makes a stop. So solid day for him. I mean, is there anything else you want to hit on? I know we went kind of quick through this, but
no. Brian Daboll got angry a lot. Penalties, hey, clean it up. This is your second and third team. Giants had a lot of dumb penalties tonight too.
Got to get those out in preseason.
Got to get those out of the way in the preseason. It's the preseason for everybody, they say. The refs missed about like three or four face mask penalties, but anytime the Giants grabbed the face mask, they called it. So home cooking. The refs had the refs had Lions +3 actually, and they won. So good for them. The NFL's cracking down on gambling. Not.
I had the Giants at over 17.5. They scored 16.
Shit.
Fuck you, White Davis.
Whoa.
I went and found the review of the 1 star being like, you guys are being too mean to White Davis.
You guys are being too mean on White Davis.
Well, guess what? I knew this day would come. I knew this day where he'd come and ruin
It's your fault. It's your fault that if you weren't so mean to Wyatt Davis, the universe wouldn't have put him on the Giants. Brian Daboll gave the biggest stink eye to Thomas McGahee. And I know we talked about it, but I just want to reemphasize. I saw that, and I immediately was like, I felt like Brian Daboll was looking through my soul.
Oh, it was like the only time I've ever seen him give that look in a game is at referees.
Can I give an observation? When I went to joint practice when Joe Judge was the head coach, remember him? When I went to the Giants-Patriots joint practice in 2021, there was one man that Joe Judge screamed the most at for 2 days straight. Do you want to know who it was?
What was the other guy's name?
Thomas. Nope, it was not. It was Dan Quinn, I guess, was a close second. But Thomas McGahee, he just screamed at Thomas McGahee for 2 days in a row. And I don't necessarily fully always know the context, but I just knew that the screams were being directed at him. But he's very well respected in the building, Bobby.
Yeah, it's if there wasn't confirmation that he is extremely friendly with the media and gives them information, you got it today. That when Brian Daboll is like glaring at him, that team's like, well, that's on the head coach too. Which I do kind of agree with that, but
it's also the fucking preseason, Pat Leonard. You have the 85th, 90th, and 80th guys running out there on special teams trying to make
can you blame that on McGahee then?
Yeah, because I don't like him. How about that?
I do want to
and I like Brian Daboll.
So is what I want to ask them. What happened on
narratives
where they just let the ball drop? Like,
yeah,
is that like, what is that? Like, have you guys prepared for that? Because the Giants themselves were kicking because this new fair catch rule.
Yeah.
We're kicking the ball short every single time. And I know it's preseason, so I'm not expecting them to do that in the season necessarily, but they're at least trying it out and seeing how they could do it. So, all right, that's an episode. See ya. We appreciate you. Go Tommy DeVito.
Go Tommy DeVito.
I'll see you at the Bills.
Oh, wow.
At the Bills game.
Bobby Skinner and I will not see each other for months.
Heading back to Florida. Do appreciate you guys on this camp tour. I mean, we still have all our player profiles in preseason, so we're having interviews with other people, so still have a lot of training camp coverage.
Season's over.
Back to come up the pike, but
we'll see you next year.
But we do appreciate you guys. We will see you when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.